Bledsoe was arrested.
Patrick Montgomery was in court.
Jonathan Manapa will stay in federal custody.
No, I don't take responsibility at all.
Hey everyone, welcome to the show. So 46-year-old Alabama resident Joshua Black had a knife with him, or he at least took one from someone else in the crowd, a knife with a more than 3-inch blade on it, when he was on the Capitol grounds on January 6th. And according to the prosecutor, Black was one of the first people to breach a barricade on the lower West Terrace. He was also seen on video tugging on the barricade, and then he stepped over it and he headed towards the building. 2 officers forced him back behind the barricades, but the rest of the mob then realized, oh, we could do the same. So they overran the police line. The officers formed a new line, but the mob started pushing against the police again. They pushed Black, actually, other rioters pushed Black into the officers. And then at that point, with physical confrontations going on, other officers deployed rubber bullets. Well, that's when Black was struck in the cheek. And then the mob completely went ballistic. They started striking the officers. They were screaming at them. Officers were eventually able to convince Black to allow them to provide him aid because he was very wounded. His face was very wounded. But after helping him, rather than leaving the Capitol grounds, Black decided to move to another side of the Capitol. He moved to the east side of the Capitol, where he took part in a group push against approximately 5 officers. Well, that's when Black and the rest of the mob successfully breached the East Rotunda doors. And then the mob forced their way past the very outnumbered police officers. They went into the Capitol. Black roamed around the Capitol. He found his way to the Senate chamber, where he first joined in with another man in advising others not to destroy anything. He was trying to tell them to keep calm, don't do any damage. But then he was seen joining with the rest of the mob in rifling through senators' desks. So he was looking through paperwork. He tried to access a laptop that a senator had left behind. He also photographed a document that was left behind by Senators Ted Cruz and Paul Gosar. And then sometime later, a single officer entered the Senate, and he was begging the people in there. It was like 20 or more people at that point in the Senate. He was begging them to leave. And the prosecutor pointed out, this was that officer's first time in the Senate chamber. They explained that this officer is assigned to the House, and he, as an officer working at the Capitol, was not even allowed to enter the Senate chamber. That's how serious it is going into that Senate chamber. Well, Black and the others just blew him off. They ignored the officer. They gathered around the Senate dais and they started to pray. And about 10 minutes later, there was a group of officers that came in. And then at that point, they physically escorted everyone out. So Black was interviewed after exiting the building, and he said in part, quote, "I'm not a violent guy. Like, I don't like violence at all. But I mean, we can't put up with this, man. Like, this ain't, but if Biden becomes president, goodbye, America." And he remained on the Capitol grounds until it was dark outside, until basically the curfew was called. I should add, the prosecutor did note several instances in which Black called for peace, and he was urging others not to hurt the police. So, for instance, when he was hit with the bullet and one of the officers was knocked down, he knelt down beside the police officer and he was telling people, don't hurt him, don't hurt him. So following the Capitol attack, Black posted a video on YouTube and he admitted to entering the Capitol. He admitted he was carrying a knife. Black also admitted, quote, "Once we found out that Pence turned on us and that they had stolen the election, like officially, the crowd went crazy. I mean, it became a mob." And then he added, quote, "I make it around to the other side of the building and I was sitting there thinking, why is everybody just sitting on the steps? I thought that the goal was to show the politicians that the people run this country. That's the way it's supposed to be. So I walked up to the top and next thing I know, I'm at the door. It was a mob rule situation. It was the patriots were pissed. This was just the we the people standing up to obey the Constitution and abolish a corrupt government. Obviously, the election was not stolen. I'm just repeating what he said for, whoever, Google gods, whatever. And in subsequent interviews with the FBI, Black said that he was glad members of Congress were taken to safety. And he said because, quote, if the mob had got a hold of them, it would not have been good because America is pissed off at our elected officials. So Black was arrested on January 14th of 2021, and he was indicted on charges of obstructing an official proceeding, entering a restricted building or grounds with a deadly or dangerous weapon, disorderly conduct in a restricted building or grounds with a deadly or dangerous weapon, unlawful possession of a dangerous weapon on Capitol grounds, entering the floor of Congress, and disorderly conduct in a Capitol. Black refused a plea deal. He opted for a bench trial, and in January of 2023, Black was found guilty on all counts with the exception of obstructing an official proceeding. Based on the most serious charge, though, Black was still facing up to 10 years in prison, 3 years of probation, and $250,000 in fines. The prosecutor, however, requested 5 years in prison, 3 years of probation, and $2,000 in restitution. They also asked the judge to impose a fine equal to the amount of money he received from crowdfunding. They weren't able to determine a specific dollar amount, but evidently Black was a guest on a podcast, and he and the host were urging people to donate to a PayPal account for him. So the government isn't sure how much money he ultimately collected. I couldn't locate any details about what was said at the sentencing hearing, but U.S. District Judge Amy Berman Jackson presided over Black's case, and she sentenced him to 22 months in prison, 2 years of probation, and $2,000 in restitution. And it doesn't appear that the judge ordered any kind of fine for the crowdfunding money he collected. I didn't see anything in the court docket that addressed that issue. So, unless they're going to take that up at a different time and figure out how much he made. But I do think the judge dropped the ball, though, in this bench trial because she acquitted him of that obstruction of an official proceeding charge, as I mentioned, because she said there wasn't evidence that he planned to stop the certification of the vote. That is simply not true. Black's own words from that day and in interviews, following the Capitol attack, it proves that that was at least part of his intention. So I'm very shocked. Judge Jackson is usually one of the best with these, so kind of surprised. Anyway, guys, at least he got some jail time. At least he didn't just get, Netflix and chill. So anyway, I will let you know if I hear any more. Thank you so much for watching and listening. Please like, share, and subscribe. Please donate if you can. Love you all. Take care, and I'll talk with you soon.